Okay, with the dulcet sounds of the AI voice, we're now recording the Zoom meeting. Thank you. Welcome to the welcome to the East Valley Astronomy Club meeting for October. This is going to be a fun night. We've got a lot of fun things planned. So we have the swap meet earlier. Few things here, so I hope you had some fun. I'm going to try and crank that. We have a bunch of general business and announcements. We have a member presentation from Nathan Eskey on some free astronomy phone apps. And then the featured speaker is you guys, because we've collected a lot of information from the Eclipse last Saturday. So it should be a fun evening. First off, any visitors? Anybody who's a visitor, raise your hand. We're going to bring a mic around for you so we can be slightly interrogated. No.
Oh, God.
What's your name and where are you from?
My name is Josh. I'm from Maine.
Okay, Josh, thank you. And I think somebody is beside you as a visitor or
You're
no?
not a visitor. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm a visitor. This is my second astronomy event.
It's your second time. Okay, so you're not a visitor. You're an old hand. Got it. All right, perfect. Thank you. Any other visitors tonight? Here we go. Now we're going to make Woody get in his 10,000 steps by going down front. There we go. This is for the Zoom folks with the microphone. So
I'm Pam. This is Bob and Barry. I just joined today.
Okay.
And got my first telescope.
Excellent. Thank you. Glad you're here and glad you're a new member. Appreciate it. And in the back in the orange shirt.
My name's Elwin and I'm a local boy and I just joined tonight.
Okay. Score two newbies. Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else? We appreciate your coming. Now, I oftentimes have taken just as a joke the alien or an extraterrestrial image. But if you Google alien with eclipse glasses, you will actually get an alien with eclipse glasses. So if you need to hide your extraterrestrial nature or enhance your extraterrestrial nature, these are available for you on Amazon. Officers and board, that would be me, Claude, I'm the president. Woody was running around with a microphone. James Yoder is here, our secretary. Brooks is in the back, guarding the money. Our board members, kind of slide on those. Don is working the observatory. Tom Marsden is here. I don't see Steve. And Alex had a wedding to go to. Those are the officers. James Yoder is also our property director and has schlepped a huge amount of stuff over there. So we do have a good number of donations. Please check our website if you were not prepared to buy tonight. We have a lot of things available on the website too. Contact him. Marty is our webmaster. He's also working the observatory tonight. And elections coming up in November. I am term limited, so we are looking for a president. We're looking for 2 board members because they are at the end of their term. We stagger the terms of board members, so we have a little more continuity going on. And we do need an events coordinator. We had a really nice event last night at Chandler Gilbert Community College. We have a few school events scheduled. So if you are willing to help us with that, that would be much appreciated too. The success of the club really is the volunteers that we have. And we always have openings for people to help at the observatory, to do school events, just to do a lot of things to help because it really is a good idea and useful to share the load. Observatory is open, so come and visit us Friday or Saturdays, sunset to 9:30. Come see the new meteorite collection, which is lots of fun. One of our outreach activities, let's go backwards. One of our outreach activities was for a Diamondbacks game. They have a STEM dugout. We went on a Sunday afternoon late in the season They lost that game, but have been doing pretty well. The last thing I saw, though, that Phillies were ahead by 5 runs. So not that may not be a good sign for tonight. However, it was interesting that in the next booth was the Phoenix Herpetology Society, and we had Ophiuchus. Now, that's a really good astronomy joke. If you didn't get the astronomy joke, you need to look it up. I can't tell you the last time that I was at a place where a lady was handling a snake. No, I really can't tell you the last time. Anyway, moving on. Instead of the All Arizona Star Party in October this year, because of the eclipse last week, we've moved it to November. So 10th and 11th of November, it is at our BLM site on Hovatter Road North. So as you leave the freeway, instead of turning left to head toward the antenna site or the airport, take the right-hand turn. You will see a fork in the road. Take the right-hand turn again. That road does change names to Harquahala Road, although it's listed differently on the Google Maps, but it might be, somebody mentioned and showed us that on some of them, it does have a name change. One is Hope Hovatter. Harquahala is the one we follow for about another mile or so. And you will find a entry to a mining site on the side of the hill. It's pretty obvious. There will be a road and a fence on their road. Don't go down the road or follow the fence. Turn immediately into the observing field and you are ready to roll. The instructions and a map are on our website. Similar schedule of events for Friday night, 5 p.m. a potluck. 5:28 is sunset. We'll have snacks and coffee under the tent. Saturday night, the Temperance Union happy hour. Raffle, 4:45. We'll have some fun things, I hope. Chili dinner, $5. And in fact, I guess we may have some telescopes, James. You seem to have a surfeit of used equipment. 10 p.m. snacks and coffee. Just a few general guidelines. Drive slowly, especially on the gravel road. The less dust we can create, the better. Park near the entrance if you are leaving early on Friday or Saturday, and mind the lights. Use red lights. Try to avoid the white lights of your car. Please respect the desert pavement by driving slowly. It is kind of a pristine site, and we would like to keep it in good shape. Toilets arrive on Thursday, and they are picked up the following Thursday. This is not a special deal. We don't pay extra. We pay for the event. We pay for them hauling and schlepping the toilets, but they are there for a week. So if you do come, they will be arriving Thursday afternoon. And if you decide to stay to camp out for a couple of more nights, they will be available until Thursday. So just so you know, and have fun. So tonight, Nathan Eskey is going to do a member presentation on, there you are, on some software. So, yeah, the handheld thing didn't work, so you'll have to just go there or use the other. Okay?
Yeah, good evening. So I'd like to give a presentation today on free astronomy apps. I think as hobbyists and as maybe more dedicated astronomers, we often become habituated to the applications that we use, to the software, and we may miss out on some cool features that are out there, especially for free ones. Zoom camera, yeah. And then additionally, for me personally, I want to get more involved in the club for outreach events. And so I want to be prepared when someone comes up to me and asks, you know, how do I learn more? I want to be prepared with some free resources for them to utilize. So this is my first time kind of doing a little review. So I just want to throw out there that this is my subjective opinion about these apps. I am not a professional reviewer. I do use these, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Now, the criteria that I use for these, first and foremost, I think it needs to be free. I think a lot of us maybe are using some paid version of some of these apps, and the paid versions often have a lot more resources that are available than the free versions. And I think especially when we're talking about children and encouraging them into astronomy. We don't want them to have to shell out any money. We want to be able to give them something, some free and easy to use. Additionally, I want it to be unique. I mean, there's some very basic software that gets the job done, but I want some software that has some really cool features for them to be able to use. So in case you are not going to be here next month, this is going to be a two-part presentation. Today, we're going to talk about star maps or planetarium software. So if you're not going to be here in November, go ahead and take a picture. The next time, we're going to be talking about kind of the globes and some astronomy or atmospheric apps as well. Yeah.
So if you can just go get this microphone.
Sure. Feel like Taylor Swift now. All right. I think the phones are starting to drop, maybe. All right, we'll keep on going here. All right, so what are star maps? So this is our planetarium software. This is the what is in the sky right now. And the start with is Stellarium. Here, I think this is a basic star map under the paid version. If I click this top right hand corner with the magnifying glass, this will enable the search, and I can search for something like Saturn. And click on that, take me right to it. I can see that it's an Aquarius, and down here we have a little sidebar that I can expand to show me information that's pulled from Wikipedia. It's somewhat basic information, but it's enough to kind of get an understanding of what Saturn is. Without searching, I can click on a star, and it will also give me information. So Sabak is 88.37 light years away. If I click on that search button again in the top right corner, I can then go to browse, and you can see some things are starting to get paywalled. But if I click on object type, I then can have a nice little menu that separates out what I want to look at. So in this case, let's click on artificial satellite, and let's choose the International Space Station. So here we can see it's going down pretty low. I can zoom in, and here we can see it trekking on up. So it's a magnitude 99 right now, and you can now it's kind of getting closer via kilometers. But essentially, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a star map that can search, you can find things. And again, under the free version, which is what I am mostly concerned with, it's relatively basic. If I click on the bottom left-hand corner, I can go into night mode, which is always important if we're actually outside of the night sky, so we don't ruin our eyes. But all in all, it's an okay application from the free standpoint. I'm going to show you some others that I think are better. The reason that I have Stellarium on the list is due to sky cultures, and I think this is just so fascinating. So here you can see that we're looking at the constellations from the Western perspective, but of course we are not the only culture that exists in the world. If I just scroll through here, we got lots of Europe, we got lots of Asia, Chinese and Japanese, we have Native American cultures. So you can click on any one of these and it'll show the constellations as that culture. So let's do Belarusian, tells me a little bit about it. If I click on use, I can see what a great constellation name, the Wild Goat. And you can see the Wild Goat is being attacked by all of these, what are they, Starlink? Yeah, Starlink satellites. But we can zoom out and you can see, let's see, up here we have St. Peter's Cross. We have the Plowman. Elias's cart. It's very interesting to me. And of course, if I click down here in this bottom right, I can go ahead and switch that back right to the default culture of Western. Get that Ursa Major bear. So all in all, that's Stellarium. The free version is limited in its usage. I think Sky Cultures is really interesting. But if you want to do some more useful information like calendar and observing tools, that is paywalled. And so you're going to be paying about $20 to get access to everything else. All right. So the next app I want to talk about is Sky Portal. This is a Celestron-based app, but it's based off of Sky Safari, which is a more popular one. And you can see that divergent ratings. So something's going on with the Celestron app, but I can tell you it is one that I use and has some really cool info in there. So let's get that. The next app I'd like to show you is Sky Portal. It is a Celestron app that is based upon Sky Safari 6. It is a free app, and you do not need a Celestron telescope to make the most use of this app. I think it has value regardless of the telescope that you have. If you do have a Celestron scope, however, you can click the scope button and actually connect it to your go-to mount, and you can use this app to actually control your telescope for your nightly viewing. It is, as you can see, a little more complex, I would say, than Stellarium. However, it has some really good information in here. First, to the basics, you can select time, and you can go ahead by minutes. You can switch this to hours and skip ahead, or you can just watch the sky go by. Let's go ahead and stop that. You can click night to get into night vision mode, which is something that I think is required for all planetarium software, so we can keep our eyes nice and refreshed for our nighttime viewing. To me, besides the connection to a Celestron scope, where this really shines is the amount of information contained within each of these records of planets, stars, and comets, etc. So if I click on the search button, first let me show you an interesting thing here. We have tonight's best as an option. So if I click on that, it'll show me what is good to view this evening. You can see things that are already above the horizon versus below are a different shade of this purple. So some things we do have to wait to pop up above the horizon. But if I click on, let's do a search for Mars. Oops. It'll tell me everything with Mars in it. So if I just click on that, where I think this really shines is the amount of information that is present within each one of these kind of records of celestial bodies. So here, this is, to me, textbook quality. This is information that even as an adult or kid that is valuable and informative and gives you insights as to the red planet. So here we have air and water on Mars, some blueberries that found that kind of proved that water was present at one point, life on Mars and our search for that, the possibly fossilized bacteria we found on a meteorite, lots of great information. Now, one thing that I think Celestron did great here is being able to read this on cloudy nights or when the scope is already being used by someone else. But if you are looking through the eyepiece and you don't want to look at the app, Celestron put some audio up here in the top left-hand corner. So let me just click on that so you can get a taste of what that's like.
Mars has been called the Little Earth, but the label is more imaginative than accurate. No other world in the solar system has given rise to more myth, fancy, speculation, and awe than the little world just outside the orbit of our own.
I'm going to cut that off there. But essentially, that is a speech telling you about Mars and it is different from what you're reading here. So you're not going to get duplicative information, which is nice. Additionally, on the left-hand side here, we get gravity and mass, diameter, distance, orbital period, all the information that people at star parties like to ask. I can click the center button and it'll take me right to Mars, and I can zoom in and zoom out. If I was on a go-to scope, I could slew my mount to it directly. So we have the comet Nishimura here. I can click on that, and as well, this is a brand new comet. So the information here and the audio isn't as detailed, but at least we have some information present. Let's see, what else can we do? Let's click on Denobula. Click on information. You can see some good information about that. So that is it for Sky Portal. Again, it is a free app. You do not have to have a Celestron scope. To me, this is valuable information for each of the celestial bodies, and having some answers ready for what are we looking at tonight? Well, it's Mercury. Oh, really? How far away is Mercury? Well, let me see. Its current distance is 126 million kilometers at this exact moment. All right, I think that is it for Sky Portal. The next app we're going to look at is Star Walk 2. This is a free app that does have some things paywalled, but it has some unique features that I think warrants it being a download. You can see the interface is much more like Stellarium than it is Sky Portal, so it's more for general consumption than Sky Portal, which probably would be more for actual telescope users. But here we have the standard features of zooming in and zooming out. We have the constellations that automatically pop up here. If I click on the magnifying glass in the bottom left-hand corner, just like with everything else, we can search for objects. However, where Stellarium had things paywalled, under Star Walk 2, we can see whether things are above or below the horizon at a glance. If I click on the planets, we can see that Mars is currently up, Jupiter and Saturn are currently below. What I think is fascinating here is if I click on Venus, not only does it center on Venus, but you can see that its orbit also is highlighted. So the solid line is where it was, and the dotted line is where it is going. So you can actually see where Venus is going to loop around in the sky in Cancer and go back around the sun. Now you can see in the top here it says complete planets data. This is where we're starting to get into some paywalled problems here. So where Sky Portal gave us this information free, Star Walk 2 and Stellarium require us to pay a little money in order to get information about the actual objects in that which we are looking at. Like everything else, this does have night mode. So if I go into settings, I can turn night mode on or off. It also has some sounds and music for a ambiance if you do prefer that for your stargazing. One of the main reasons that I have this on our list is this sky watching section here. I can click on stargazing news and it can tell me basically articles on what's going to be occurring, what's interesting, how to view certain things. It has the astronomy calendar, so I can go ahead and plan ahead. So if I really care about the conjunction of Moon and Antares, I can go ahead and plan for that. And it kind of goes out very nicely here, so I can plan astronomy viewing parties and things like that. Additionally, I can have a visible tonight. So this will give me the main kind of stars of the show, so to speak. And so here we can see Saturn, its highest point is going to be at 10:54. So that's going to be the best time to view Saturn during the evening. For Jupiter, that highest point is going to be 3:26, and that is when I will be in bed. So by searching, you can do, planets and deep sky objects, stars, and satellites. So we can zoom in here on, oh, never mind. That is also paywalled. So you can see here that there is a combination of apps that are useful, right? So for me, where Starwalk 2 really shines is its actual widgets. So widgets are an iOS feature. And if I bring this over here, you can see that I have some widgets here in my kind of control center or sidebar report. It gives me the news. It tells me that tonight there's going to be some great stargazing at 88%. Gives me the sunrise and sunset, the waxing crescent. In the one at the top, it gives me Mars, the Moon, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, their rise and set times. So the widgets there, I think, are helpful, and that's why I keep Stellarium around. I'm sorry, Starwalk 2. But being able to see this orbit, that just kind of blows me away.
Sorry about that.
How often does the software get updated?
Yeah, each one do get updated quite frequently. Yeah, they're the modern apps. I will say with Sky Portal, the Celestron app, that is based off of Sky Safari 6, and they did release a new version, Sky Safari 7. So if you're willing to shell out $20 for their Plus version or $50 for their Pro version, you will get a more updated software with that one. Yeah, great question. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. If you're hearing magic sounds, we're having a little trouble with the Zoom audio tonight. So for you folks on Zoom, hopefully you hear the fun things. There's only one more video. After this, want to talk about the holiday party, Thursday, December 21st, 7 p.m. In this room, date different, not on Friday. It'll be on Thursday. And we should have a fun party. Last year was our 35th anniversary. Kudos to anybody who can guess what this is a picture of. M36. So we have 75 more years of possible videos or pictures to go along with our holiday party. Anyway, we will provide the main food, Italian this year, and drinks. We will have dessert, but if you guys want to bring some holiday edibles, that's fine too. Maybe not too much edible, but anyway, holiday desserts. So now for the main part of our meeting, which is really you, talking about the eclipse last Saturday, the path of annularity, of totality for the annular eclipse, going down through the four corners, hitting Albuquerque, and it was lots of fun. At the observatory, we had a really, really busy day. Lots of families, lots of kids. Dave Kosho and Henry DeJong manned the observatory. We had additional telescopes out on the lawn. Brooke Schofield is wearing his Halloween costume as a thatched hut. But if you look in the back, you will see a gentleman in a gray shirt, both in that picture and the picture to the side. This is a Lynn Young sighting. How many of you remember Lynn? Okay. A number of you do. Lynn was our events coordinator for a long time after Randy Peterson. Unfortunately, he developed a serious blood disorder. He had to have a bone marrow transplant, which is the perfect thing to have just before a pandemic. So he had no immune system during the COVID time. And if you have a bone marrow transplant, something I did not understand, because it takes away all of your immunity, all of those shots that you had when you were a child against measles and whatever other disease you might get, you now need to take all of those again because you have no immunity and you have to build that back up. So it was great to see Lynn. He is doing well. Lana, his wife, who had served as treasurer for us, unfortunately broke her leg also. So this was just really terrible timing for them. But he is doing well and wants to say hi to everybody. And hopefully he'll be able to participate in some more events in the near future. But it was good to see Lynn. We had a number of people bring a little pop-up pinhole cameras that they were able to use out of cereal boxes. We had several people bringing kitchen strainers so they could see the eclipse. And I even made the world's nerdiest pinhole camera, a file box that you can stick on top of your head. It's whatever you can do for science. It's a wonderful thing. Kid was cooperative. We also had Charles and Donna Jennings helping us sell the solar glasses for $1, and we were doing playing cards, making pinhole cameras. So if you poke a hole in one card, you can now carry around your own little pinhole camera as well. So we had a wonderful day at the observatory. We also had a lot of submissions from you. This is the first one. Woody, if you can turn the mic back on just in case. Sorry, Zoom folks, we're having some trouble. So this has audio. Hopefully you will be able to hear. And if not, just enjoy the fun graphics from Kevin O'Donnell.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That was great fun.
Beautiful.
No, go back in there. We also got a lot of things posted on the East Valley Astronomy Club Facebook page. So I stole some of those. If you are averse to social media, I understand. But if you do Facebook, it might be useful for you to follow the East Valley Astronomy Club page and also the Gilbert Rotary Centennial Observatory page, because that's how we send out some information. You'll get to see some lovely pictures, a lot of them like Bernard Miller's gorgeous shots that he posts on the EVAC page. And if we're closed, that's where we post information and say, hey, sorry, we're closed for the observatory. David Fabrizio has a really nice slides here. He was at Totality, because we can see in the bottom one. Another one from Kevin. This one had some really interesting flares around it, which was lots of fun. Here's one from Frank Kraljic, right at Totality, with some lovely flares on the outside. This is from Ayush Saurabh. Sorry, hopefully you got the name right. I love this one just because of the strange flares and the things that were coming out. I mean, it's like Ursula's hair, which is perfect for Halloween. Jeff Foreman had some white light shots, and Jim Sellers also had some hydrogen alpha shots. Here's one from Kristen Martinez, which I think if you held it up close, it's almost like the stereopticon slide, so you can get it that way. Rick Scott made a nice transitional, which is hard to shoot, with regular images throughout the eclipse. Steve Aggas, Steve Aggas, if you remember, he's a former president of EVAC. He's up on the rim and took some lovely shots of the moon patterns on the ground. And then we had Bruce LaFrance. Bruce is waving. There he is down front. Okay, now you have to guess where he went. You just look in the background, and then you could go sing along with me. Dun, dun, da, 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 da. If you're in Monument Valley, and you can see that the images are pretty close to that with his camera. So the background is not an artistic rendering, it is there. Come on, he got some lovely shots of the moon through a really old colander. This looks like one my mom had when I was growing up, but a lovely decorative design. Audio device, and I will test the microphone, and it is working. Test the speaker, and you will hear funny little tones, and we're good. And now, and then if you look right in the back, you'll see the old-fashioned stagecoach in the middle of the frame. James Yoder, here. Do you want to talk, James, or? Oh, sure. Okay. Come around. No. We're having technology hazard tonight. Yes.
Sure. I went to Escalante, Utah, and this is one I took. It's a composite. So this is called Devil's Garden. I actually got there early at 4 in the morning and had the tripod set up. So I took some night pictures, and then I superimposed the eclipse pictures on top of it. And then this is just the sequence of the pictures of the eclipse. As you can see, it wasn't completely in totality, but it's pretty close. I think that's it, right? Thanks.
And I think Nathan had some things to share. We're back one though. There we go.
Thank you all for celebrating my birthday with me. So yeah, my birthday was on the eclipse, and I want to normalize non-traveling. So we actually just got back from a trip from Tennessee. So no one in my family was eager to get in a road trip to Albuquerque. So I was able to do it poolside. Now my telescope is set up for planetary observing. I have an 8-inch SCT. And so I use a foil Eclipse Smart filter on the top of it. And so these are the shots that I was able to get. On the left here, we just have my cell phone looking through the eyepiece. That's probably the best one I captured. I got a little sunspot in there, but now I know I need to get a hydrogen alpha filter for next time. And then I do a lot of planetary observing. So I threw my CCD camera in there, and I do not know how to zoom out. So this is a very, very close up picture of the moon. And what I love about this one is you can see the mountains and the craters and the silhouette. And I just thought that was fantastic. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, the Diamondbacks are winning now. Okay. What do we have a score? 6-5. All right. So it's 5-0 when I last looked. Bottom of the 8th, 6-5. I'm not sure who the patron saint of baseball is. It's probably Yogi Berra. And Tom Jacobs had some things to talk about. Here we go.
Well, good evening. I wanted to do something different for this eclipse. So in the previous eclipses I've been at, I've noticed that at times you can see the solar corona before the eclipse is total. And of course, you can almost always see some planets. So I wanted to see whether or not this eclipse, which is, it says 90% plus, but when I actually calculated it, where I was only 89% of the surface of the sun was covered by the moon, which is a little questionable about whether I could see any of these things. So where's the button? Right there. I did a quick survey with one of my favorite planetarium programs and saw, well, look at, there's Mercury, Mars, and Spica available right there. So I took out my favorite calculation software, a good old spreadsheet, and I figured out what sort of field of view I would need to get those in there. So you can see, let me see if I can do this right. When I set my focal length at 150 millimeters and put the sun just about in the middle of the right-hand side of the frame and then zoomed out to 55, which is what this red box is, 55 millimeters, I would have plenty of room to get all of those items in the field of view. So there they are. As you can see, there's Mercury in the upper right-hand corner and Spica in the middle, and Mars is in the lower left-hand corner. And I looked at this photo for about 2 hours, zoomed in, I couldn't see anything. And of course, I had a couple other photos, different exposures, just to make sure that I didn't miss the opportunity to see any of that stuff. And as it turns out, I couldn't see any of those things I set out to see. Basically, I did see some nice atmospheric activity, and I forget exactly what these are called, but there's about 3 different objects in the sky. Pardon? Periheliarc, yeah. And that might be considered a sundog up there, but I don't think it's called something differently when it's so high in the sky. Anyone know? Okay. Just in case you're interested, this is the setup that I used to take the photographs. I had a little 3-inch diameter plastic disc about 6 feet away from the lens of the camera. And I used a zoom 55 to 250 millimeter zoom. And that allowed me to put things in the right place. And I had a really inexpensive mount, easy to carry, easy to set up. It only took me about 15 minutes to prepare. This is a little more detail of it. And if you look carefully at the lens cover, you'll see that it's in shadow and the rest of the camera is in the sunlight. So that I calculated the size of the disc to give me exactly enough space to have the camera pointed at the sun for about 2 minutes before I had to move it and get it out of the focus, get the sun out of get the sun behind the sunshade. Any questions? Yes.
Tell us a little about that long arm that's holding the occulting disc.
Oh,
Looks like it's 10 feet long.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so I used what was it? It was a cottage cheese cover. I cut it out, painted it dark blue. And this part of the arm is aluminum tube that was about 30 inches long. And this part here was is a wooden stick that I had laying around. And in order to keep the arm out of the field of view as much as possible, I think you can see it in this one. a little wedge down there. Yeah, maybe you can't see it very well. Right about there, there's a little wedge to have the wooden part of the arm going down, and then at an angle, I had the aluminum tube going up, and it was about 135 degrees or so. Anyway, that's it. I got the idea out of this Sky and Telescope magazine, where they gave the description about putting a little shade over the land, over the top part of your field of view, but that was way too close for what I wanted to do. So I just went to my garage and pulled out some stuff and put it together. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Okay. It's nice to know you can get occulting discs at Home Depot in aisle 7. And Tom Polakis.
There we go. So ended up going to a Mexican Hat, Utah, camped with a friend from way back in high school, over at Desert View in the Grand Canyon, and it was about a 3-hour drive over to a Mexican Hat. Here's the site. What we did was pulled down to toward the boat ramp, most of the way to the boat ramp, and you'd see the San Juan River would be in that canyon. So the equipment was real simple. Loaded up a Pronto 70mm refractor with a white light filter. It's a solar wedge from Lunt. And then on the left is a Lunt 100, deliberately single stacked because I wanted to show the prominences more than I wanted surface detail. When it's mostly blocked, there's not a lot of surface detail. On an equatorial mount, and then some Eclipse glasses and sun oculars, which are, I think, 4 or 5 power binoculars that Lunt sells for $30. Another shot of the setup. There's my buddy John and my wife Jennifer and the equipment. These are the recommended Eclipse glasses. Anytime you go to Eclipse, you have to take a shot like this. And so there's the 3 of us. And then in the next slide, we'll see not recommended Eclipse glasses. So, but it's bright, but the sun does look very 3D. So, so here's a partial eclipse, just as the sunspots were not very impressive. There wasn't a lot of large groups or anything, but we did watch the moon pass in front of this sunspot group. There is the complete annular eclipse process to show the prominences around the limb. And of course, you have to do this, bring a calendar along, and actually did it during annularity as well, because there were not a lot of trees in Mexican Hat, Utah. There we go. So this just animation or time lapse that's sped up about 5 times of third contact. And what I was hoping to see was Bailey's beads. Jennifer is at the Pronto and she's seeing them great because it's a white light view of the photosphere, which has a very sharp edge to it. So you see Bailey's beads are when the rays of sunlight shine between valleys in the moon. And it didn't work out so well with the hydrogen alpha filter because that is not a sharp edge to the chromosphere. Chromosphere, as you can see, as it's happening, has a lot of irregular spicules, has the structure to it. So lesson learned. It worked out okay. And I don't know if I have, yeah, so that's a still frame of third contact that shows some of the sunlight shining through the valleys in the moon. And some of that is actually chromospheric detail. And here's a closer view of just focusing in on third contact. So it's a lot of fun watching this. And just one other thing, just a couple impressions. One of the most striking impressions, because honestly, the annular eclipse wasn't that much of an event. It's a great partial eclipse and everything, but it's nothing like a total eclipse, of course. But yes, the temperature dropped, but during the annular, even 90%, 80, 90% coverage, you barely could feel heat from the sun at all. You could barely feel which direction the sun was without actually looking at it. I also looked for planets unrealistically. Mercury is negative 1.4 magnitude. It's at its brightest when it's on the backside of the sun, almost near superior conjunction. But there's no way. It was about 5 degrees away. And I looked for that. Then I looked for Venus, which is on the meridian and way up in the southern sky, and didn't see it. So it just doesn't get that dark, which isn't that big of a surprise during the eclipse. So it's well worth the trip though. So thanks for listening.
And next up, you can guess, we have Bob Buchheim.
You know, there's a broad spectrum of photographic skill. Tom is at 3 sigma on one end, and I'm about 2 sigma on the other side of 0. I stayed home in Gold Canyon for the eclipse, and at first I wasn't planning to do anything, but then I realized golfers and neighbors are going to be expecting me to show them the eclipse, so I put together a quick and dirty eyepiece projection setup in my backyard. This shot was taken near maximum eclipse, and after I didn't see this at the time, but after I was looking at the picture, I thought, well, what the heck is that? I'm going to come back to that. So anyhow, the golfers are going by because I'm right on the golf course, and the neighbors come by, and everybody was aware that something was happening. Here's what I saw taking shots of that white screen that's projecting the eclipse. About 9 a.m., the terrain was clearly getting dim. You know, you look out at the hills and it was like a cloudy day, but clear blue sky with the sun in it. So anyhow, one of the neighbors was walking her dog and she said, yeah, you know, I noticed as I was coming over, the sky was dim and all the shadows on the ground, they looked odd somehow, but she didn't quite understand it. So we took a walk around the house, and not surprisingly, you can see the shadows look a little odd on the ground and on the rocks and on the pavers and the patio. You know, everything is turned into a little crescent. My cats were watching us from inside, and they didn't seem to care at all about the eclipse. In fact, the eclipse was visible in the office where they were located. The sun was shining through the mostly closed shutters, and so it was projected on the floor there in my office. The next day, everything was back to normal. Now, about that image on the wall, where the camera is standing here, it's looking south. The sun is up in the pretty high on the left, and so the illumination of that shadow there is not coming from the telescope, and it's not coming through the leaves on a tree. So I wondered. I spent the next day figuring out where exactly was it coming from. This is the south side of the house, and you can see there's 2 windows up there, but nothing that shines like a glint of a flagpole or anything. But at about 9:30, I watched the whole, followed the eclipse again, and you can see that blob shows up on the wall where the crescent sun was on eclipse day, and it took maybe 15 minutes for it to move the length of that black arrow, and you can see there's actually 2 images of the sun, one on top and one on the bottom. And as it moves down to the right, it got to the point where it was partly on the wall and partly on the bench. And if you zoom in on it, you can see only the the upper picture of the sun is on the wall. And so I put my camera right there. And you know how you aim your telescope by looking at the shadow. I used the shadow to get my camera pointed exactly wherever that sunbeam was coming from. And I took a picture. And that's the picture I got. It's that little window. It's got some kind of a curve in it, and it was focusing the sun and making a pretty darn good image on that wall. So mystery solved, and absolutely fortuitous, because the situation only lasted for about 15 minutes, and it just happened to be right near the maximum eclipse. I missed an opportunity. Later that day, I was looking in the pool, and you know, you see all those little wrinkles in the pool. I have a friend who's a wizard at speckle interferometry, which recognizes that the atmosphere is doing that kind of corrugation to the light from the stars that hit our telescope. That's why seeing is bad for us. But you can mitigate that with speckle interferometry to get a actual picture of double stars, for example. I still don't know what those wrinkles in the pool would have looked like with a crescent sun illuminating them. So that's something to save for April. I've got stars that need my attention. Their spectrographs have to be taken. So this will be the last time for a long time I'm looking at the sun. Thank you all.
Okay, thanks, Bob. And our last bit is with Josh Eyre, who unfortunately was at a wedding this afternoon, not his, but he said that he might not be able to make it back for the meeting. So we're going to look and see. There's just a couple of shots that he had. One with the lovely prominences coming around the sun. It was great. Oftentimes, if you're having an event like this, the prominences will be meager, but there was a really great one, and it hung out on the side here in Phoenix at the observatory. So we got, people got to see it throughout the event. And then finally, we have those kind of ring effects that Bob was talking about with the plants and the trees. Here's a bunch of people with those same kind of rings serving as little pinhole cameras based upon the shadows. And I think it's a good way for us to end our presentation tonight on the partial eclipse, or the annular eclipse that we had on Saturday. This is a community event. We had hundreds of people at the observatory, a lot of folks that were here tonight, shared this with other people. Our hobby is kind of solitary sometimes when we go out and observe, but this is something that is kind of universally shareable. And we're looking forward to the April 8th, 2024 total solar eclipse. And my next question is going to be, where will you be? Do you already have plans? If you don't have reservations, you probably are now going to pay 14 times the rack rate. Are people traveling, or do you want to, Woody, if you've got any comments, preparing, here's one down front, Woody, for the total solar eclipse.
Part of the year we live in Cleveland, so that would be terrific, except it's April, which means you're not going to see a damn thing. So
Okay.
we have friends in Dallas, so we're taking airline miles and making plans to be in either Cleveland or Dallas, depending on what the weather forecast looks like. But we expect to see the totality. We saw the one in Knoxville in 2017, and the annular one we saw up at Chaco Canyon. And to see 3 eclipses in a lifetime in the US is pretty incredible when you think about it.
It is. Anybody else? Bruce? Yeah.
My sister-in-law lives about an hour out of Austin in Hill Country, and they're expecting a lot of folks to be, but her place being right in the middle of the path, it's going to be nice.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else have any other comments on the upcoming eclipse? I am going to echo Tom's comment about the annular eclipse. Annular eclipses are nice. We've had two recently here in Arizona. They are nothing like a total solar eclipse. And if you possibly can go, I would certainly recommend being anywhere on the center line, even Cleveland, would be a great place to be because they are kind of just an amazing event. My comment at the end of the one when we were in Clarksville was, do it again, Daddy, because it is so exciting that it's almost a childlike wonder where you're going, oh, I need to see that again. And so it is that kind of an emotional thing. Yes.
I did meet a Texan in Mesa Verde in the bookshop there, and we were talking about eclipses. And I said, "Oh, it's so awesome." And he looked at me, and I thought, "Oh, you sound like a Valley girl," because he said, "No, it's soul-shakingly profound." And I had to agree with him that there's nothing like a total eclipse to scare the hell out of you, really.
For soul shaking profound, I think you need to go back and look at the posts from Paul Knauth after the last total solar eclipse, when he looked at it with his 25-inch telescope. So if you have aperture and you want to see really the corona, get a 25. So next month, David Ayadavia, I'm going to kill his name, I'm sorry. He has a wonderful project of research with a do-it-yourself radio telescope. So in doing the occulting disc from Home Depot, maybe you can go those old things you have left over in your garage from Radio Shack, may be handy. Next meeting, November 17th. Do stay well and stay safe. And I think we're done. Thank you very much.